Okay, hello class. So right now we're going to be talking about how to create the rig in Blender. So I made this human that was extruded from a cube. As you can see here on the lower left corner, you'll know the shortcuts. Shift A is so that you can spawn a single bone. A single bone is what's inside an armature. In object mode, that is an armature, because you can have another armature as well. So I spawned one, and you can see in the outliner, you have the armature and an armature 0.001. Those are two separate armatures because sometimes you'll have multiple characters with their own rigs. You don't want to spawn in order for you to connect bones. It will have its own set. So we'll delete the new set that we made, and everything we're going to be doing with editing will be on edit mode, or you can hit tab. We will go to data, turn on names, and then position, so that you'll know what kind of bone this is. So now how this works, in this case what we will do is we will position everything first. What I do is I use the same controls for modeling, and then E to extrude, and E to extrude again. And then what you can do is, like, if you want this to be split, you can actually select a bone, right click it, and then subdivide. Then you'll find the things are separate now. So now you can reposition them. And just in case you have like asymmetry, the way you remedy this is by clicking the symmetry upper right corner. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be positioning the bones. Okay, so now you can name this. I will name this chest. Okay, so you should be able to control this right now, right here on pose mode. And then I'm rotating it. Okay, that's pretty good. So next we're going to be doing the legs. What I did was I duplicated this using Shift D, and then I am going to reposition. We'll do the same thing. What I would do is I think it would be better to duplicate. Okay, so now we're going to be renaming this. So we're not going to be worrying about the fingers, just so that you'll know how the rigging process works. Double check always on pose mode. So I hit Control Tab. Okay, that's good. So it's rotating with the hips. Let's see if it's rotating with the clavicle, because essentially it should. Okay, so that's not good. And when I move this, the legs aren't following. When you're rigging, is that you kind of want to have understanding of parenting. So parenting is knowing which bone follows which bone based on hierarchy. So in this case, as you can see this line right here, when I'm moving this one, this bone, the stomach bone, the arm is actually not following. I forgot, it should be named chest. Okay, it should be following the chest, but it's not, because you can see this line, it's actually following this bone. So how you remedy that is by selecting what you want to be the child, then shift select the parent, Control P, and then keep offset. You can also Control P and then connect, but that's not the goal that we want. So we're going to be doing the same thing here, Control P, keep offset. Okay, so now you can go to pose mode and see if it's following, and that's good, it is following. We will proceed to naming this. Blender has a cool thing where if you symmetrize, they will have another version here on the left or right, based on the suffix, meaning the ending of how you write your names. That's why it's important to name your bones with F2. But you know what? I made a mistake. It's not R, it's left. So we'll name it left. Okay. So now you have the arms and the legs. What we're going to do is we're going to select the groups with L. I selected this group with L and then this group with L. Alright, that's good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select in this upper left menu the armature, and then we're going to symmetrize. So now that it's symmetrized, you can see there's an R version if you look at it on the back side, left and right, and that's exactly what we want. Oh, we forgot to name this, so we'll name this head. Now, how do you know if you are in the proper hierarchy? is here on the outliner. You'll find this pose area right here, or yep. And then you can see that hips is actually the controller for the whole thing. Then hips controls the stomach, thigh, and then the other thigh, left and right. And then by controlling the chest also has control over the neck, then the arms, and then the forearms. It comes into this neat packaging so that you'll understand which one is controlling which. So now that we have a basic rig, how do you actually make the character move in pose mode? It's a little tricky, but first you have to start with a modifier called the armature. So armature modifier will tell the mesh that it should be controlled by this armature right here. And then what you'll do is that you will look for the armature. In this case, there's only one, because you can have multiple armatures and multiple meshes in one scene. But in this case, I'm just going to name this armature. Okay, so now that you have an armature, what you have to do first is you have to select the armature, and then shift select the mesh, then control tab to access the weight paint mode. You can toggle the X-ray. Now, how this works is that when you're going to select the bone, you hold Alt and then click. And then if you're going to paint, you let go of Alt and you just put the weights. Now the weights, simply put, just means that whatever has the most influence. So if it's red here while selecting this bone, when you rotate the bone, that's what's going to rotate. See? You can do the same thing with the stomach. So hold stomach. Then you can weight paint. Whatever is red is the most influence. And then what is green and blue is the least influenced. So if you can see, as you can see here. Now, how do you know if the mesh has relationship with the armature? You can actually find it here on data. So in this case, we're going to go and select the bone, then shift select the mesh, and then go back to weight paint mode. As you can see here on data, there's only two relationships, which is the head and the stomach. So what we will do is we will manually put the relationships. As you can see, it will pop up when I do an alt select on the bone and then select using the brush. Now, let's say you overextended and you don't like the fact that it's right here on the other side. What I would do is I would turn off the symmetry, go to tool, and then subtract. This is where you can use the subtract tool so that you will not influence the other side of the skin. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here, add. Pretty good. Now, let's say you're encountering this issue where like it's so hard to paint which is which. You can actually use edit mode to assign polygons manually by holding Alt and shift select polygons that you want to influence. So in my case, I actually want these meshed right here to be influenced by the thigh bone, and control Alt tab, weight paint. Okay, I will select the bone first, Alt select, go to edit mode, and then assign. And when you go back to weight paint mode, as you can see, now it's influenced by this. That's what I would do for overlapping meshes. Okay, so let me just weight paint these real quick. I'll turn on symmetry. Okay, so now you're done. You can actually start posing. I went back to object mode, selected the armature because I don't want to touch the weight paint mode anymore. So I will go to pose mode by tapping control tab. Now you can feel free to pose your character. There you go. And if you want to reset, A, select everything, Alt R, and then let's say you moved. You say you moved, and then you rotated too much, and then you scaled too much. You can actually reverse these and bring it back to its original by holding Alt, then Alt R to reset the rotation, Alt G to reset the movement, and then Alt S to reset the scale. So now you're free to move your character. So now you can see that the final pose has been made. And then if you don't want to see all the other controls, just the mesh, you can press this shadow overlays. So there you go. You have posed your character. And then how you animate this is actually quite simple. I will open the timeline. Okay, so the timeline is usually available already when you boot up Blender. And how that works is that you select the whole thing with A, then I to insert a keyframe. So let's say in frame 20, I kind of want him to rotate a little bit. Select everything and then I, and now you have made a tiny animation right here at the timeline. So we'll shorten it using this by scrolling this. Oh, and if you can't see your keyframe, you can actually just hold the middle mouse button and then drag up to down so that you can see. So I want this to be reversed. Shift D to duplicate to the other side. Okay, maybe I want to hold this Shift D. So I want to hold that pose for a little bit. Okay, so now you have a small animation. And then that's generally how it works. I'll show you the time lapse of how the rig is made. And I hope you can apply it to your own artworks. All right. Enjoy, guys. And if you have any questions, just ask me. And see you soon.